Good evening and welcome everyone here to GTRC WTCC Round 5. Brands Hatch Indy is the venue. The short layout, the narrow layout, the layout that caused a lot of trouble the last time we were here. But we're gonna see how it is today. Hopefully we get some good racing here. Times should be close together here for the qualifying that is about to start in a minute. Good filled grid so far, so we're really looking forward to it. By my side is Tom Holland again. I hope he's there.
I am here, yeah.
Oh, perfect. Welcome, Tom.
Yeah, it's good to be here. This is definitely an interesting one on the calendar.
And, well, at least we can say we can never complain about boring races at Brands Hatch.
True. Well, unless you watched that DTM race a couple of years ago, the GP circuit, that was a boring race.
Yes, but I think with GTRC when we were here, it was never really boring. Sometimes we had, I think the last time we were here, we had a few issues with lapped cars that caused a bit of chaos. But yeah, and one of the favorites, as we see him here in the pink Swift, still hate this car.
Interestingly, went back, that lap time he set is actually quicker than what Ridwan did for pole last season we came here, so keep an eye out for that.
Pretty much equal level, and I think the Swift could be a bit quicker around here than the BMW. But overall, less than a tenth to Will Sutters, who's showing that the Lexus is competitive around here. Kubinski P3 at the moment, Clark in the TT. Here's Ashby, who's
a returning name.
Yeah, missing since he got the qualifying ban. Yes. Ruben Serrao, currently on P4 in the BMW, might be a track that could fit the BMW a bit better than the previous tracks. Van Hart, after a really great result at Monza, on P5 at the moment, so still in shape, still quick. And then maybe one of the most interesting names we have here, Jodo Vandersbeck, back in here. I think the only one who ever won the championship in the BMW in GTRC.
Yeah, I believe you're correct.
In one of the memorable races of all time, when Oscar, big drift here, when Oscar went on Bone Dry Fuji to intermediates and forget to refuel.
Yeah, heartbreaking for him, and unfortunately he didn't come close again.
Yeah. I think it was also his birthday, and I think he dodged the birthday party to go for the title, and then everything went horribly wrong for him, so it's really unfortunate. But yeah, I think it was the last big title battle we had. The following seasons were pretty much early decided. I think we had Serrao close with Witchell, and I think it was Grant who became champion in the end. But
yeah, I think that was the last time we had really a close title battle. Because if you think about, other than that, last season was pretty dominant. Same with Cheyenne, it was pretty dominant with him too.
Yes. And also this season looks pretty much like Joe is the guy to beat and is really hard to beat. So qualifying should start in a few seconds. I think Will is already in autopilot. There's Ryan, the next returning name.
Yeah, we got 3 returning names today, I believe. Just 3 though.
First time that On the Edge Motorsport is in here with 2 cars, and I think the last time I raced Ryan around Brands Hatch Indy, we had a not so good moment. I think it was the Grand Prix layout, and I just sent him to Narnia before the final corner.
I mean, it's nice to see Ryan back on the grid. I think it's fair to say he's a seasoned veteran in this league. He was in the league season 1, and every time I've raced against him, he's usually been very respectful. I've known him even before this league. He's very, very fun to battle against.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
But he's been out of it for a while though, so who knows? Maybe he might come in with decent pace.
So, but as the qualifying is, I think, about to start quite soon, who's your favorite tonight? At least for
pole, I'm going to be interesting and go for an outside chance. I'm going to say Clark is going to put in a blinder.
Well, I really don't want to go with the obvious pick. I mean, I can guarantee that Ashby is not getting on pole.
That is a good point. He is not getting on pole.
Yeah, fuck off. I'm going to say Kubinski.
You're going to say Kavinsky?
Yeah, I have trust. At least for the qualifying.
Well, if he gets back from the toilet. At least for the qualifying.
For the race,
I've told him no penalties today.
25 penalties and losing overall 30 seconds just on penalties. But for the qualifying, I think saying Davison is too obvious and boring.
And then when he does get pole, you know, whoopee. I mean, anything could happen, but they're going to get, like, what, close to 20 chances, really, to set a good lap here.
Yeah, especially with the new settings where you don't need a pit stop. You can just back out and go for the next lap around here. Lap times we see it are about 46 for the top guys, 47s for the midfield. So we're going to see a lot of quali laps.
Pole last time we were here was a 46.617, I believe. So, I mean, if Tyler can set a lap like that, then already that's probably guaranteed pole, realistically. But it's interesting to see that some people have gotten quicker since last time, but a lot of that is also car dependent.
Definitely. I mean, Sutter's quickest lap is a 46.632 so far. Also, Clark is not that far off pace, and we usually saw that the drivers always could improve in the qualifying session itself. But yeah, 46.5 is definitely benchmark.
Oh, no goes into the wall. Oh, qualifying start, right, interesting.
Yes. Usually the indicator that the qualifying is starting is when people pulling the handbrake in the middle of the straight line.
Who's out first? I think that's Joe out first.
Yes, Joe is out first. Is anyone smart enough to leave the pits a bit later?
I don't think it's that important around here, I'll be honest, because the lap's so short, like, no matter how much you back off, you're likely to come into someone anyway. And I've just seen Joe today is using a Homer Simpson helmet, which, interesting.
I don't want to know the relation to Brands Hatch and a Homer Simpson.
You reckon he has like a wheel that he spins with all the names of the different helmets on? Different cartoon character each week?
I mean, if it would have been Daytona, I could maybe, with a big imaginary, say that it's Dotona, but for Brands Hatch,
yeah, what can you do for Brands Hatch? I mean, it's not really much, is there?
Let's see, he's on a quick lap. He will set the first benchmark, followed by Tom Lipskamp, who currently seems to hold up Tyler Davison a bit, so maybe Tyler Davison not with the best lap here on his first attempt.
He's got him in the final corner anyway. So we'll have a clear lap here.
Lipscomb picked up a penalty with 46.8.
Decent benchmark though from Joe Witt. Immediately beaten by Tyler Davison.
And he was
Will
in traffic.
Sutters with the impressive lap as well. I think there's more pace to come from Davison though.
And we are already faster than in the practice session.
So now we've got to wait for another 16, 17 odd laps of this to see if anyone else improves, which I reckon they definitely will.
Langstadler 47.1, currently P8 for him.
Tyler 100% does have the best livery. I'm sure my co-commentator here definitely agrees.
No. There's very, very much pretty liveries this season in GTRC, and so it is kind of difficult to look bad in a good race car, but yeah, Tyler's car
Got to give it to him though.
Is not looking good.
Somehow he's achieved the impossible, and he looks bad among a fast grid or a good-looking grid.
Will Sutter is currently stuck behind Stein van Hart, who's currently on P4. Solid first flying laps from him as well.
I think the Peugeot, from what I heard from what Stein and Landstadler were saying to me, they're definitely struggling a bit more. They've been complaining about the same things with all the tracks where they have to go a lot on the curbs.
Straights
so
are missing,
it could
right?
be a factor. Yeah, straights are always alright for them though.
Van der Speck with a big improvement. Also Serreo now on P3.
That's a really good lap from Thoreau. That's where you really expect those BMWs to be.
Clark currently just P8. So my Kubinski call was definitely better than your Joe Witt call so far. But yeah, we I saw about 1,000 flying laps and we still have 11 minutes to go.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen here. We see Van der Speck getting a little bit slidey out the final corner, so he probably won't set the fastest lap there.
Tyler Davison,
say that.
Provisional pole, 46.3, and yeah, like predicted, lap times are getting quicker. Will Sutters with the instant counter.
Another 46.3. It's good.
Well, and then there is a 3/10 gap between Serreo and the top two at the moment.
I do expect that to get closer, I'll be honest. I think, given how many laps they're going to get, that's definitely going to get closer.
Until the point that one of them will absolutely nail it on the first and the last lap, and we see a 45 maybe. Pretty sure we won't see a 45.
The Lucas Mays pole with a 45.9. That's my call out. I've come from the future. That's what's going to happen.
I would bet money against you.
Yeah, this one, from talking to a lot of the drivers, you know, as I usually do before joining you to commentate with these, I do talk to a couple of the guys, and not great things. They don't enjoy this track much. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some of them struggling more than others, but generally there's not great things about this track. But the racing around here is usually quite close, so that's something to look forward to at least. But the key overtaking point, what would you say is the key overtaking points around here?
Definitely the hairpin. If you really get a good exit and overspeed through Paddock Hill Bend,
that's a great corner, isn't it?
You need to decide really early for the inside line, but then you can have kind of a little dive. But the rest of the track, especially on any layout. Tyler Davison, purple lap at the moment. Only 8 thousandths.
This hairpin, Druids, it's usually, even on the GP circuit, it's really the only overtaking point. I think famously it was the overtaking point for the 1976, was it British or European Grand Prix? One of the two. James Hunt made an overtake on Nicky Lauda that race, which took him the win, but then I believe he got banned because he wasn't even supposed to take part in that race.
yeah, I think I heard about it. I think it was a big part in Rush.
Yeah, and they were throwing stuff on the track to make sure he took part. That's British sports fans at their best.
So while we were talking, at least Joe with an improvement. P3 for the championship leader at the moment.
It's pretty hard to know where to look. Everyone's always on a lap.
Yes.
Speaking of, Van der Speck's just gone into the pits. He's got tyre wear.
Yeah, tyre wear is on, fuel not.
Ah, I got that a bit mixed up.
Sereo on an improvement. But he needs definitely a lot more time to have a look into the front row.
Is improving by 2.5 tenths, but will be enough to maybe put top 5.
Kubinski, meanwhile, improved his lap time, but no position change.
That's top 4 for El Clark there. Really mighty lap from the TT, one you really expect to be up there too, but then Ruben immediately hits back.
it was top 4 for him.
I mean, this is what we were saying, it's definitely going to be very, very close, but I mean, look at these top 2, you know, almost 2 tenths ahead of Joe.
2 tenths is just insane.
It's incredible.
Meanwhile, Lipskamp is finding more and more pace. Made the move into the top 10. Jumped Lucas Mays.
Somehow, I don't mean to jinx it, but I think Chica's going to start ahead of Dougie, unless Dougie sets a lap here. Has he set a lap?
I don't know. For me, it is not showing any gap.
Someone might need to prod him. Give him a little poke. So who is Chica? I know you're in the chat. I could probably ask Sick this as well. Who are you racing for today? Is he Will's teammate today?
Yeah, he is Will's teammate. I think he's the signed-in driver for Inertia Works, so he's the normal guy in the cockpit. Ryan Hedgekamp with an improvement, now in the top 10. Jumping
not quite to the 46s yet,
former race winner. And is really close to Langstadler.
There's a little bit of a train going on here with Jordi van der Speck at the lead, top two from qualifying right behind him. Might be feeling like they're getting a little bit held up, but van der Speck is improving. So they'll at least have slipstream down what I think is the Brabant Straight. Don't quote me on that.
Yes. And Langstadler meanwhile made it into the 46s. Van der Speck with an improvement on P6 now. Very, very close to Clark.
Sutters onto the gravel as well.
Wide.
It's interesting to see the different lines people are taking through Druids. Typically, one I usually like to take is stay very tight, but you know, some people they like to go out wide, cut back in, take a more V-shaped corner.
Finally, Tyler Davison realized that it is maybe not the smartest way to stay close to a rear of a car that is a few tenths slower than you.
Hopefully it doesn't hold up. No, it's close though. I think Langstadler might feel he was a little bit held up there through Paddock Hill Bend, but that's the nature of the pit lane. It spits you right out to the corner.
I mean, yeah, we have more than enough hot laps on Brands Hatch, so I think in the end no one should complain about they had no clean lap.
I don't think anyone's getting a clean lap. They're looking at it. Someone's always with someone, except for like 3 people. I mean, look at this. There's a 5-car train going through now into the final couple corners. mean, I guess it's one way to do it. You get slipstream going down the straight, but I don't think slipstream's that important around here, if I'm completely honest.
No, and especially if you have... I mean, Joe is a good rear, but there is also Ryan in the middle.
Well, now Ryan's at the front.
And the gap between Ryan and Will is about 8/10. And you have to lose the time around here somewhere, and this will definitely not be an improvement. Ooh. Meanwhile, I think Ryan just opened the steering to let the train pass.
I mean, smartest thing to do there, really. If
big drift here from Kubinski. Looked like he pulled the handbrake.
He might have done. Why is it every time I look at the top two, they're always together and they're always stuck behind someone else? How are these two top two? They must have got in like 2 clean laps and that's it.
Yeah, I think it was their first couple of laps when they set their best times, and then they were close together, and I think they maybe benefited a bit from a really similar pace. Let's see what our championship leader is doing. Backing out into the pits. No improvement for Soreo. So your pole prediction, Clark is now on the way to the finish line and close to an improvement. With a good final sector, he might be able to jump Soreo.
Yeah, you want to stay nice and tight.
Wall. Yes, there is an improvement, but quite. Just about not enough. And I know that this is super frustrating if you improve and you see that the time is your personal best and it is not enough to jump the car in front of you.
Yeah, it's harsh, but I mean, that's the nature of these smaller circuits like this. You know, the gaps, the tiny, tiny gaps are so crucial. He's now spun front-wheel drive. But yeah, it's so crucial that you make those tiny, tiny gaps because, you know, if you look at the gap, top 7, I think it's fair, top 8 even, they're all split by around half a second.
And half a second is...
or half a tenth.
Nothing.
Well, it's a lot around a track like this. So they're definitely going to... The main game is to find those little improvements, and it's difficult. But I find it mad how far ahead these top 2 are, though, because the gap these top 2 have is the gap that Ridwan had to 6th place last time we were here.
Yes. I'm a bit surprised that Langstadler is on P9. He's not that far off the pace. Currently he's improving, so let's stay on him. But at least he's about a quarter of a second slower than Stein van Hart. And they were... big improvement at the moment. Needs a good final sector and bring it over the line. Then he might jump Kubinski. Lost all the time in the final sector. And is done with his qualifying.
Front row last week, now 9th this week. How much difference a track can make, really.
Yeah, I mean, Monza was the perfect car also for the RZZ with the top speed, and Brands Hatch is more likely the complete opposite.
That should be Sutters for pole here. I don't really see anyone else who could beat him. I'd like to be proven wrong, though. I think we're all wrapped up with quali.
Everyone has completed the quali. Yeah, I mean, we have 16 minutes. The lap is 40 seconds or 45 seconds. So if now someone is on a hot lap, it is not that hot lap.
So yeah, Will Sutters for pole. Can't say I didn't expect it. certainly I would have bet on Tyler Davison if we were being realistic. But
yes,
at the end of the day, this is Suss's favourite track. I think it's well known by everyone. This is his favourite track.
Yeah, but still, it is difficult to be quick with the Lexus around here. The Lexus is
100%.
a really tanky car. It's super heavy, and it is usually not the best in the corners. But yeah, you see on Sutter's pace what is possible if you breathe this track.
You breathe this track. It's certainly a simple car to drive, but to drive fast is a different story. And I think, you know, he's week in, week out showing that car can go quite fast.
So Dougie is back, so we need manual set grid. Yes, I think so. Have to spam you.
First ever time you've had 2 quali bans in 2 weeks in a row, I believe. Which I know isn't really a record you want to keep. Is it not the first time?
No. He's still sitting on the qualifying ban he received last season. Last week, Sutter sat on the qualifying ban.
Yeah, but 2 served in 2 weeks in a row. That's what I mean.
So,
which isn't really a record you want to have, but it's a record nonetheless.
I think I need to help Joe.
Predictions for the race, though. Who do you think is going to win?
It is... okay, Joe saved it. Perfect. It is really difficult. I mean, the obvious picks would have been Davis or Sutters. And for this way, I would say Sutters because, first of all, he will have the better launch than the Swift. And on the second point is that if Sutters is really skilled in one thing, then it's defending. And even if the Swift is small, will not open a gap that is... the gap will not be big enough for a sheet of paper, so even the Swift will not fit through it. And I think the Lexus as a rear-wheel-driven car, I mean, Davison is really good on tires, to be fair. Tire change is a thing. You can gain a lot.
Yeah. I think everyone's going to change tyres. I'll be brutally honest. I think everyone's going to change tyres. But I think if we want an interesting race here, we definitely got to rely on the BMWs to get a good launch and hopefully give Sutter some trouble.
I think the BMWs could make a good launch. It is not a long way to the first corner. I'm pretty sure that we might see at least one of the guys with a early undercut, and that could bring them up in front. But yeah, it is like if there's an incident with P1 and P2 in the first corner, in the second corner, they will drop down, and it's so hard to overtake here. And then maybe Joe, maybe Ruben, or even Clark are the guys who are smiling after that. And as Davis and Sutters are on a pretty equal level, they might hold up each other a bit through fighting, and it might be difficult to really make a bigger gap on the rest of the grid. But yeah, let's see. All speculations are done.
Here you want to be starting on the right-hand side of the grid, so, I mean, Sutter's is safe really, he's starting on the best side of the grid here. 5 red lights.
Better lounge.
And we're away. Very colourful grid this one too, just want to point out. And
Surveyor
looks like
with a good
Ruben's
start
had
and
a very
is
good launch.
Immediately in front of Davison.
Davison looked under pressure there from Joe, but he's managed to hold him off at turn 1. Davison now looking back at Thoreau, couldn't get the move done down to Druids. That's someone off in the background.
And this is lap 1
that's
and
Lucas Mace and Langstadler. They've just had it coming together at the back of the grid.
Yeah, drop down to P13 and 14.
Yeah, it was on the exit of Druids, bit of a weird one, don't really see collisions there much, but sure they're both going to be quite frustrated with that one.
Yeah, even this early stage can be a deciding phase in the race because Tyler Davison looked much quicker than Ruben Serrao in the qualifying, and maybe this is the perfect chance for Sutters to build the gap. Late on the brakes here for Davison, taking a wide angle, trying to get some overspeed.
Someone who's had a pretty good first lap here is Ryan Edgecombe. I don't think he qualified top 10, but he's currently in 7th.
He's 7th, yeah, definitely also benefited from the good start. But
and also benefited from Kabinski getting a penalty already. Which, no comment.
Surprised that he's the first guy who picked up one.
I'm hoping this isn't the start of the train. There is still a little bit of battling going on. The main battle at the moment is Van der Speck and Witt at the moment. Witt's giving Van der Speck a little bit of trouble here, but he's covering it off well.
And that's what I mean. If you're going for
as
the
we
move,
say, he's getting a better exit now out of Druids. But he'll have the inside. Van der Speck will have the inside, so yeah, there's no point.
And so Clark like and Witt losing the top 3 right at the beginning. Almost 2 seconds is the gap. Yeah, that's what I mean. If you going for the attempt into Druids, you have to be on the inside line really early, because otherwise...
Yeah, Joe needs to get that inside line though. Again, he was around the outside at Paddock Hill Bend, didn't really get the move done. I just feel like it's going to be the nature of these races tonight. You know, it's very, very difficult to overtake around here.
A little bit of a surprise that Serrao is now really close to Sutters, and Davison seems to be a bit off pace, but can be just a slight mistake. Serrao 46.4, a really quick lap here.
Yeah, Thoreau will be wanting a good result. He hasn't really had a really good result so far this season, and really this is the track for him to do it at. So I think he'll be pretty chuffed being in second at the moment, as he does go wide a little bit if he lag.
Oh, attack here from Van Aert against Clark, and Clark lost a lot of positions here. Dropped down to P8. Lost the position against Edgecombe and also Van Aert. Kubinski, then Ashby on P10. Mace, Langstadler there. Not getting really back on pace. Same
the front
for...
three are just beginning to spread out a little bit more now. Thoreau's lost touch a little bit, just lost about 2/10 that last lap on Sutters.
Also, big surprise that Tom Lipscomb is so far behind. Brands Hatch might not be his favorite track. Should be a good one. I mean, he was really quick on Road Atlanta. So, of course, the layouts are different, but the characteristic of Road Atlanta and Brands Hatch are pretty close. So it's a bit of a surprise that he's a bit struggling with the pace here.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be very disappointed, but I mean, you know, you have a bad race in the first race, you've got the second one starting at the front of the grid, you've got every chance possible, so who knows.
Everything is currently a bit more splitted.
And now we sit back and relax to what I like to call the British Monaco.
Yes, it is the waiting game. Just waiting for a
Really
mistake.
is. It's a very tactical circuit. Got to be a smart driver to get positions around here.
Oh, edge come a bit wide here. Gives Clark the opportunity to gain a position. Yes, he did. And Kubinski.
Oh, is he off into gravel?
Yes,
Who's that
Kubinski.
into gravel?
I think it's edge camp. Yes, it's edge camp. He was the unlucky guy who got third-partied.
Ah, that's Lipscomb gone. Probably a disconnect, but I mean,
Looked a bit like Kubinski took a little dive bomb here on Ashby, and Ashby had edge camp on his outside line.
sorry, I was going to give you some news that you quite like. I've been monitoring the top two these past couple of laps, and look how close Thoreau is now to Sutters. I'm sure you'd love to see this. He's going a little bit deep into that final corner though, but he did that last lap and he got a really, really good slipstream down the main straight.
Tyre wear is pretty equal on both of them. Davison is looking really, really good on tyres again. And even if they're still really close together and kind of fighting.
Look at that, Davison's already gaining from them two fighting. And I mean, I think it's fair to say if those three fight a lot, maybe we could see Van der Speck get into that.
Yeah, but even if they are close together since the beginning of the race, I mean, we haven't seen big position switches so far. I can't see Van der Speck gaining at the moment.
I think anything's possible around here. Honestly, I think anything's possible. It's a very, very long, a long shot saying that Van der Speck will catch him, but you never know.
So yeah, the top three are really close together now.
That's Thoreau missing his braking slightly. There might have been a tap there. All is good, no positions lost. I think out of that, Davison's actually the worst off. He's lost a couple tenths through that corner because of that incident.
And the Swift is every single contact makes this car a bit struggling. Because yeah, it's I think 890 kilogram in the BOP. So there's absolutely nothing, and Van der Speck first one in the pits.
For the undercut. It's a really early pit stop. He's going to have a serious issue with the tyres later on in the race. He's going to have run 19 laps on those soft tyres. I'm not sure if that's going to be simple for him.
Also, traffic might become a problem for him.
It's an interesting call from both of them. Personally, I would not be taking this call.
Van der Speck also collected a 3-second pit lane penalty, which is not helpful for the undercut.
I mean, who knows?
Langstadler might be.
Might have underfueled a little bit.
Maybe. I think the middle of Van der Speck and Langstadler might be the best. I think Van der Speck overfueled a bit. Langstadler might have underfueled a bit. Big pressure here from Davison to Sereo.
Yeah, Thoreau's lost touch a little bit again. Maybe some kind of big mistake. Maybe they're just in the battle, which isn't really what you want to do, if I'm honest. But you see, he's struggling a lot with that front right. Davison, on the other hand, tyres aren't a concern whatsoever. So you called it. I don't think he is going to pit for tyres anymore. The tyre wear is incredible.
And now he has the inside line.
That's Davison finally through. He is going to get the position here because the Suzuki has great braking. Textbook overtake. I think now they're going to be wanting to work together to catch up to Sutters. feel like that's the best call for both of them.
Yeah, I think tire-wise, Sereo isn't able to force an attack to Davison. And also Sutter's tires aren't looking the best.
Get your bingo card out because Kubinski's about to serve a off-second penalty.
I don't even have a clue how to collect the half-second penalty here.
I don't know where he's getting them, I'll be honest. I did say to him before this race, I said, please, for the love of God, no more penalties.
I mean, I think it is possible in the little chicane thing before the final corner.
Also, I feel Graham Hill bend, the one after Druids, that might be quite an easy one to pick him up if you cut it a little bit too much, so maybe that's been catching him out a little bit.
It's nowhere quick to cut it too much.
Exactly, yeah. I don't know, needs to keep his head cool. That Sutter's into the pits now on 0 litres of fuel.
Same for
So
Sereo.
he was running on fumes there. But we see this all too often with the Swift over the past couple of seasons. Davison's going to stay out for the next couple of laps.
Yes, and Van Hart, I mean, it's a short lap, but...
He's cutting it close.
I have to pull out my spy glasses to see the rest of fuel. It might be enough.
He'll also be running on fumes by the time he comes in.
It will be enough, I think, otherwise he wouldn't be going for another lap. But now Clark, good move here in the chicane. Both going into the pits.
So Van Hart might risk it here and fuel for less just to get past Clark again. Davison staying out for another lap as well. I think he's got another 1 or 2 in him. If I remember correctly, when I was using this car, we had about 2-3 laps in hand.
I mean, this Suzuki is levitating over the track and is a featherweight. So
fit it in your pocket. Oh, he's pissing
no,
now.
he's
Right, fair enough. That was an extra 2 laps. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. I think there's a very small chance, but he might be able to come out ahead of Sutters after this pit stop. He hasn't changed tyres, and he is coming out now.
Big slide here in the final corner for Sutters.
Davison's got a massive gap to Sutters here coming out the pits.
But
those tyres, though, are going to be an issue. He could have afforded to change tyres.
Think so. He had to refuel a lot shorter because of his fuel management. But yeah, after the pit stop, the gaps are pretty big. Also, Sereo lost a lot of time to Sutters. With Dade on P4, yeah, but nearly every close fight is now eliminated.
Yeah, I mean, if Tyler had changed for tyres there, I mean, he'd still be ahead of Sutters by over a second, but I guess now Sutters doesn't even have a sniff of Tyler's rear ends. It's just going to be very close at the end.
And one thing really didn't work, and that was Van der Speck's undercut. He dropped down to P11.
Yeah, I mean, he won the championship in that car. We know that he's quick in that, but I think it was very optimistic, wanting to do an undercut there. And just saw another drop out there, unfortunately.
Yes, it's Dougie that we lost.
At the moment, the 2 closest cars on track are Van Hart and Clark. Van Hart, I think, is...
Yeah, he catched a bit.
Is he catching?
Yeah, I think when I last time skipped around it, Clark was about a second behind Joe and a second in front of Stein.
Yeah, Van Hart's catching a lot in that final corner as well, you saw there. I mean, it's one thing catching up to a car and it's another thing overtaking it around here. see the gap now between the top two.
Consistent.
If you look at the gap between the top two, is decreased by half a second
Yes.
in the time since the pit stop. So might see the widest little Suzuki Swift in the world in a couple of laps' time. Can he hold off a 4-second gap for 10 laps? I don't think so.
Maybe he's conserving a bit the tires. He's still very, very quick while doing that.
All has very much died down now. I think one thing to note is Chica had a very Ashby, I say, had a very, very good start here, or a very good start considering he started last. That's P7 now for him, P7. So he's overtaken half of the grid. So that's pretty good from him. I'm sure he'll be quite chuffed with that.
Right so far.
I think on a track like this, if you can go from last to 7th, that's a very, very good performance.
Definitely, definitely. And if we don't see his name in the reports, I'm very happy with his race. But Clark is feeding the pressure, personal best again. But Van Aert is not losing him. Really consistent lap times here from Van Aert. The last 4 laps between 46.8 and 47 flat.
He must be struggling at one corner in particular, because every time he seems to reel him in, he reels him back out again. So he's going to want to keep that under control. Top 5 definitely on the cards for him. Which, I mean, he got both races top 5 last week, I believe. So he's on decent form at the moment, is Stein Van Hart.
Yeah, it might be the final corner. He lost about 2/10 here. But again, 2/10 quicker than Clark in the previous lap. Joe is not gaining on the top 3.
I was being too critical of these top 2 because it's stayed around 3.2 for the past 2 laps now. See, Sutters gains a lot in that final corner, but I'm not sure it'll be enough at this stage anymore. So potentially a strategy masterclass from Tyler Davison there. I'm sure Sophie's ears will be lighting up if he's watching.
Piss off headset.
Yeah, it's all died down now. I've just gone on board with Kabinski, and I think I've seen why he might be picking up penalties. He's I don't know. He's taking too much of the curb, too much of the grass. I think that's all there is to say, really. You know, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. But I think he's struggling to catch Ashby a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Now under
the
half
lap
a
times
second
are
between
okay.
Clark and Stein. Never mind.
And it seems that they are slightly gaining on Joe on P4.
That's very interesting, yeah. Joe's got worse tyre wear than his fellow Peugeot driver, P6. So that could be a factor.
There's 5 more laps to go. Davison still sitting on a 2.5 second lead.
It's almost inevitable, isn't it? Every race he shows up in, you can just expect him to be in the lead at some point. Sutters is catching now, but I think it's a little bit too little, a little bit too late, if I'm honest.
I mean, it's really cornery. And I think the tire drop for Davison is now really notable. So he's still in the low 47s. But I think the risk of having a mistake is getting higher and higher.
Yeah, I think
the gap
I'd be
is now
more
less
worried
than
about
2
making a
seconds.
mistake than Sutter's actually catching him, if I'm completely honest. Because I think the only way here Sutters can catch him is if Tyler takes a visit to some other place. Forgets that a right-hander is a right-hander and goes left. Because I don't see how he's going to gain almost, well, over 1.5 seconds in about 2 laps. Which is unfortunate because I feel like Sutter's been on very, very good pace here today, especially considering
the three-way fight for P4 is getting hotter.
It's really heating up, isn't it?
Stein lost a bit the rear of Clark, but Clark found the rear of Joe and is now aiming for P4. It's really close. Joe immediately going to the inside line.
Clark thinks about it
around the outside, has the inside line for the next corner.
It's a really brilliant move if he can make it stick here, and he does. Great move from Clark.
Brilliant overtake, really, really smart.
Now
that
Joe's
brings also
got to worry
Stein
about the
back in the
Peugeot.
game.
This is really the only battle at the moment, though. Again, don't think Sutters will catch enough, and Kabinski is dropping from Ashby, so these are really the closest 3 at the moment. Witt's dropping a lot, though. I think Van Hart's going to want to get past him soon.
Van Hart searching for the gap.
I'll be interested to know if Joe did anything differently this race, I'll be honest, because I don't want to say it's uncharacteristic, but you don't see him have that much worse tyre wear than everyone else around him.
And maybe it is Brands Hatch that doesn't fit his driving style pretty well. But yeah, he's surprisingly bad on tyres at the moment, and is doing Van Hart the same move than Clark. No.
It's going to be hard for Van Hart here. He's going to have to try and sweep around the outside, but I don't think it's going to happen. But he tries it anyway, and he makes it stick. Fair enough.
Still side by side. Now
Joe's had to let
Hart
go there. Is Joe going to look down the inside for the final
well,
corner?
we
He does,
missed
but
the
he can't make it
finish.
stick.
Tyler Davison, half a second in front of Will
So it was
Sutters.
close in the end.
Sereo, Clark now comfortable on P4. Stein Van Hart with the late gained 5th position. Championship leader Joe Witt on P6. Ashby, really solid race on P7. Kubinski P8. Lucas Mays
Yeah, I'm surprised
P9.
Van Hart made that stick, if I'm honest. That was a really gutsy move from him there, but I mean, fair
And
play.
it only works if both drivers work together and respect each other. But also Langstadler, and Langstadler didn't win for fresh tyres, and his tyres are pretty fucked.
I'm sure next race he'll learn from his mistakes. I hope at least.
Oh, he maybe went for tyres, but he was in with the early pit stop, right?
He did have quite an early pit stop, yes.
So let me get some screenshots. Fast lap for Will Sutters. So in the end, we would have needed maybe 2 or 3 more laps. Yeah, let's see on the results. We have with Vandersbeck Van der Speck, who overfueled by 8 laps, as I got the information quite fresh.
Wow, 8.
And yeah, that's the reason why he dropped that far back.
I mean, he's in a good place for race 2. I think he's definitely the favourite for that.
If he keeps the stuff together, definitely, because all the quick guys had a solid race. I mean, we have Sutters, Davison, Witt, Clark, Sereo. We have the top 5 quite at the end of the grid. The grid is with... How much cars do we have? Are we back out? No, not with 13. 12 cars. Will Sutters and Ruben might gain some early positions with the start again. But then, yeah, making your way through the midfield on this narrow track can cost a lot of time.
I'm just looking at the gap for the fastest lap during that race. Will took the fastest lap by 0.003, so that's 0.003 of a second. He took the fastest lap compared to Davison. So those two are in brilliant form tonight. Really good to see. Also, Thoreau setting a really, really competitive lap as well. Just a tiny, tiny bit off between them as well. Those three have been on fire tonight. I think Thoreau is going to be quite chuffed with that, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Second podium of the season. Will Sutters started crying.
Transpire slightly differently.
Can I please win just one race?
I mean, it's gotten to that stage, you know, when you're racing against guys like Tyler and Joe, you kind of have to beg to win. Because it's always a given it's going to be one of them two, and if it isn't, it's going to be someone crazy out the reverse grid.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's Will. He's used to be second, I think.
I will not speak because my best position in this championship is second, and it was done twice. So that was nice.
Really, you never won a race in here?
I've won races, but I've finished second in the championship twice.
Okay.
It's painful.
I mean, we have to be fair with Will. I think the first 7 seasons he didn't really went for the title because I know that he thought it is stupid to go for the title in your own league.
He didn't clamp it. Oof, sorry.
No, that's something different. That is rigging a league to make sure that you definitely win the league.
Sorry for uttering his name. I know it's like Voldemort, you're not supposed to say it.
I mean, he's overall not a bad guy. I think I came in contact with him really, really early at my days on Helix Racing. And yeah, we never become big friends because he was the first livery designer for Helix Racing until I was there. And then I deleted all the stuff he did. And he was like, And then in a league, he was always the guy who, instead when someone asked about a livery, yeah, I can do one. And 5 minutes later, he posted just something that honestly looked like a 5-minute livery. And then it was 2 times for guys I know pretty well. Wait, my microphone might cut out, but my TV want to shut down.
Getting Halex gossip here.
Yeah,
I do forget he was with you guys early days. I honestly do forget that quite a lot.
He was just designing the car, and it was, yeah, we kind of stole a driver from him. I know we just asked Devil if he wants to drive for us, and he said yes.
It's not really stealing if the driver wants to leave, is it?
No, we just asked and he was fine, and then I told Hayden that he's gonna leave. It was funny, after I never went for Gran Turismo 7 for league racing and stuff, and then we had in Division 3 in a different league, there was a rule that the races will start with a minimum of 9 cars. If the number is lower, they won't start. And there were 2 guys who were not in our team, who were fighting, had a great fight for the championship. and they were really friendly guys. And I said, come on, I'm really shit at racing. I never did league racing and stuff, but I just fill up to make sure that you guys have the title fight you deserve. And after the race, Hayden Clampett asked me to drive for his former team, MDC.
This is ancient history, this, just want to point out. This is essentially ancient history.
We had a lot of...
I think the lobby's just been reset for the reverse grid race. So we are going to get underway in a sec. There's Six having issues with his microphone. Are we going to hit robot sick individuals today?
I hope I'm back.
He is back. He has not been replaced by the robot this time.
It still can happen. I just have to make sure that I make the lowest movement possible for me.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Hayden Clampett, I know this isn't the gossip show. Let's all gossip about Hayden Clampett, but I mean, the first time I came in contact with him was about a year ago, I guess. This time last year, with SSRL, and it was interesting, to say the least. It was interesting. There was some quick guys in there, but it was interesting.
SSRL. I mean, you might not know that SSRL existed before it existed the second time.
I do vaguely remember the first time.
And so he rigged it. People didn't want to race there anymore. Then he gifted it to, I think, Eric's and BNR. And they couldn't make it running, and after it died, he revived it, I think, maybe a year later.
Yeah, we entered a team into the second one, and after about 2 rounds, we weren't pleased with how it went, and we quickly pulled the team back out.
I mean, the best thing we ever did was his Super Formula League, and Pekka and Aaron were quick enough that he left his own league instead of rigging it, because it was impossible to rig it.
Well, now one league that isn't rigged is this one that we're currently back to watching now.
Yeah, definitely not rigged.
Shh. All keeping it very neat and tidy. That's Ruben Thoreau already making an overtake on Clark.
Van der Speck trying to get in the lead against Edgecamp here.
Yeah, Edgecamp was always very good at defending when I used to race against him, and I'm sure that hasn't disappeared. He's just looking for the tiniest gaps there in the last couple of corners, but if he's not careful, he is going to have Langstadler pressure him, whether they battle or not.
Sutters attacking Davison here in the back of the grid.
I mean, these are crucial battles at the back of the grid here. But they're touching each other on the straight as well.
So they're definitely not gifting each other any position.
Tyler goes for the dive bomb.
Making it themselves as difficult as possible to get back in the top 3, maybe.
That was a good move from Tyler. I dare say a tiny bit of moving under braking there from Will, but no serious incident.
Edgecamp doing pretty well so far.
Someone who's had a really good start is now Dominik Kubinski up into 3rd.
Yes, overtook Zolt Langstadler.
Could this be the one where he finally gets his first win of the season?
If he stops finding penalties.
Yep, I've just jinxed it. You watch. They're going side by side now into Druids, Edgecamp and Van der Speck. Edgecamp keeps the lead yet again. And that gives Kubinski a little bit of a sniff.
Soraya must have had an incident as he dropped down to P12. Also, Ashby is keeping the pressure high. It will be interesting to see what he can do with the Lexus. Van der Speck missed the braking point.
Oh my
now
word.
there's
a gaggle of cars going down the straight. Kavinsky seems he's lost out the most, and that's Langstadler who's gained the most up into P2. Kavinsky's lost out massively. He's just lost another position to Ashby, and if he's not careful, that'll be another position to Lucas Mays behind him. Which it is. Mays goes for the dive bomb. And Kavinsky's shoved out wide. Might lose another position again to the other Peugeot. Not quite. That's a really shocking first couple corners there. I'm sure you'll not be happy about that. Gone from potentially second back down to sixth.
And still leading, and now with a 1 second gap is Scholt Langstadler. Van der Speck going for the move in the final corner against Langstadler. But Langstadler had the better angle, had the better momentum through the corner.
It's going to take some effort as well to overtake a Peugeot down this straight. As any straight this season, we've seen all season long the Peugeots are absolutely rapid down the straights. But I think now they're all just going to have to work together a little bit just to catch back up to Edgecombe, because that fighting earlier on has given Edgecombe a really nice lead.
It would be a Cinderella story if he could be victorious on his comeback.
It really would be, yeah. I mean, surely someone knows the last time he won a race many, many seasons ago. Has he won a race on GT7 yet? I don't think he has.
No, I think he only did one season, but only part-time on GT7.
Slidey at the final corner, sorry, from Langstadler. He's about to lose position to Van der Speck there.
Van der Speck now has the inside line. He's now back on P2.
Yeah, he'll be kicking himself after that one. Just caught the gravel a little bit on the final corner. And he's also about to lose out to Ashby as well.
But he's not giving up.
I'm sure after all of this, Edgecombe will be looking behind him and smugging, because he hasn't really had to worry whatsoever so far this race.
Sutters and
He's
Davis
probably going to want to pick the pace up though.
9.
Yeah, I mean, this is really what you expect around here. These fast guys are going to have a hard time getting past.
Yes, and definitely the guys in the front, or the guys who are ahead of them, are not high on mistakes. So
very consistent.
Definitely a bit wide here. I think it was Sutters who went a bit to the gravel.
Oh, and that's a big dive from Kavinsky on Lucas Mays there, going to Druids. Tiny bit of contact, but car was there. He was down the inside. Legal move. Also, Davison now looking on the inside of Lucas Mays. Has to concede position.
Back on Edgecombe's rear. Both really sliding through the final corner.
Yeah, this must have been a really
Ashby
good lap
is also
from
there.
Van der Speck.
And now he's going for the inside line. And Ashby might also benefit from it. Edgecombe has the inside line now. Ashby catch the car, but now under pressure from Joe.
Yeah, Joe's been very quietly making up the positions. It's P4 now, which is very good for him. I just want to point out, all three of the returnees today are currently the top three. Begs the question, why did they get in the first place if they're this quick? Especially Van der Speck, I feel like he's taken like a duck to water, maybe not in the last race, but I mean, you look at his pace over all of tonight, he's been very quick.
I mean, at least if he's able to read the number of left laps and the number you have to refuel.
Someone needs to tell him there's a little diamond that tells you where to refuel to. Oh, that's Edgecombe cutting the corner a little bit. Just lets Ashby through quite easily, and Joe's also sticking his nose in.
But Edgecombe is still there. Still on the rear.
Edgecombe's still with them. But again, it's going to be a lot to catch that Peugeot down the straight. Does take a look down the inside just to let him know that he's still there.
Kubinski a bit wide here. What happened to Sutters and Davis? Now both were in the pits.
Yes, Davison's got a 3-second penalty as well.
This is not really helpful.
No, it's definitely not what he wants. So that early lead that he gains to Sutter is going to be eliminated practically.
And his no tire change is also quite equalized.
Kubinski's also into the pits.
Same as Clark.
Penalty.
No, usually he's not the guy who's picking up pit lane penalties. He's just the guy who's finding every track limit violation.
Yep, he'll pick up the first corner after the pit lane. The nude pit crew with a very, very good start for Kubinski.
No penalty for Kubinski here. It's good to see.
He is, however, with Sutters, and I'm sure he'll be hoping to maybe get on pace with Sutters, just latch onto the back of him, and hopefully they can both gain positions together as Sutters is going purple on Kubinski's fastest lap. I say that, he got a little bit shaky out of Graham Hill there.
Vander's back now in the pits.
Yeah, there's also a tyre change from him. Again, he's going to be struggling on those tyres later on, but he's done it once, he can do it twice, as long as he fuels for the right amount, which he has done this time.
Let's see what his track position is.
Crucially, he comes up behind Davison.
That's the benefit of not changing tyres, and even with the 3-second pit lane penalty.
Definitely the fight is on here. Definitely got a fight on our hands here with Davison, Van der Speck and maybe Sutters. Sutters again going purple on his own previous fastest lap. Sutters on very good pace here. Probably the fastest guy out on track right now, I think it's fair to say. Edgecombe and Langstadler also into the pits. Looks like it'll be new tyres for both of them.
Maybe it was late on Edgecombe. Oh, he switched tyres as well. No, it was just late on him.
He's also got a 3-second penalty, which is very unfortunate. Langstadler gets away free. But now also I just want to say, every single returnee is led a lap, as Ashby's about to lead a lap here.
Joe Witt meanwhile is pitting.
He should be able to get the undercut advantage on Ashby there.
Tires looking pretty bad. This is the downside of the Lexus on this high cornering tracks. You definitely feel the weight on the tires.
It's quick around this track though, that Lexus. I don't want to say I'm surprised, because the BMW is also quite quick around here, but you'd expect this to be a front-wheel drive focus circuit.
Yeah,
it's very,
because
very good for them rear-wheel
even
drives.
if they're really, really heavy, but you see the difference. I think the Lexus has 100 kilogram more than the BMW, and the tire wear between Ashby and Cerreo is really, really different.
It's otherworldly. I mean, I don't want to sound stupid, but I mean, it's almost as if they're driving two different cars. Both pitting, Stein staying out for another lap. To have a statistic, see how many different drivers have led a lap this race so far. It seems like the lead's changing non-stop.
And his fuel and tyre management is absolutely insane.
Yeah, he's been really good on the fuel and tyres today, old Stein van Hart. It's benefited him slightly, especially in the last race. He gained those late positions on Joe.
So Lucas May is currently on P2.
He could also stay out for another lap if he really wanted to. So we can see another different leader of the race. That's Van Hart definitely coming in this lap.
Big slide here from Ashby. Brings Kubinski in striking range.
Away from us, though. Tyler Davison will be our new race leader after Lucas May's pits, but Lucas May's is staying out for another lap. Van der Speck seems to have just dropped a little bit out of touch of Davison. interestingly, Joe is quite a ways ahead of Sutters.
Yeah, it's a big surprise.
It's also Kavinsky and Ashby battling now. Kavinsky's back up into 6th, and there's contact between Thoreau and Ashby. Thoreau's slammed on the brakes just to let Ashby back through. Would have been very opportunistic from Thoreau there to get the overtake, and he's rightfully given the position back.
Yeah, we see the marks on the car.
It's got a very bruised front end for BMW. Whose responsibility is it, Halex, to put the paint back on the cars? Is that your responsibility?
It's just lucky for me the game does it itself. Otherwise they would drive in all white liveries without any decals. I mean, it's about a 14 driver roster. And we're entering with 10 of them into another league, and so it is quite annoying to do 10 times the same car, just with a different number.
That's Luke's Mason in the pits now. So we have yet another different race leader, this time in the form of the pink Swift.
Yeah, I would love if he would do some crash marks on this car. Maybe all over the car.
I'm not sure if you've ever seen the movie WALL-E, where they compress the garbage down into little cubes. I want to see that happen to the Swift at the end of the season, I'll be honest.
But it is already compressed. But someone painted this cube of garbage. But Van der Speck is now getting in trouble from the next pinkish car. Joe Witt is currently quicker than Van der Speck.
He's also got a lot better tyre wear than Van der Speck, which, I mean, I guess his car's lighter, but I wouldn't expect that from a front-wheel drive. Van der Speck did pit earlier though, so that's probably why. He gets a really good exit out of Druids there every time. But it's not really on the exit where you want to make the overtake, it's on the entry.
Also brings Sutters back in striking range.
Potentially Kavinsky here, if they battle enough, might be able to make something out of this, currently running P5.
Yes. And Kavinsky, if you rewatch the stream, this is what you can get if you don't pick up penalties.
It's beautiful up here, isn't it? You're fast enough, just stop getting the penalties.
Saraya on P6, Ashby on P7, who lost a lot of positions and time after the pit stop.
Yeah, I think Ashby doesn't have the pace of Thoreau at the moment. And maybe even Van Hart behind him might be able to overtake him as well.
Definitely, Van Hart had a really solid pace in the first race.
He's been very consistent these past two races, and even the two races last week as well, he was also very consistent. Becoming a theme this time, Van Hart. I don't mean to be crazy though. When did the gap between first and second become 4.1 seconds? Now 4.5 seconds.
Must have been in the last couple of laps, as I think Van der Speck is struggling a bit in the three-way battle. 48 won his previous lap.
Oh, that's wide from Van der Speck though. I'm not sure if there was contact or not.
I think there was contact. Yeah, Sutters waited.
Good from him, very fair racing. And that's Kavinsky looking up the inside of the final corner of Sutters. There was a gap and he
finding
went for
the gap. But he's not done yet.
Fair play to him. That move's not quite complete yet.
Lexus has the better top speed.
Might it off a little bit. He's not going to get the move around the outside here. Very optimistic for him though. And that's Joe into the gravel as well. Going up to Druids. He just about holds back the position, but he's got dirty tyres, and that's Sutters through. on Druids, but I mean, this is the battle for P2. It's look at the leader. Yeah, I don't.
Davison
know
looks pretty
how.
secured. Kubinski, Sereo are now back in the game for the podium.
That's Van der Speck.
Double
and
overtake
Kubinski
against
through.
Witt.
Hasn't really been looking as confident as usual, has Witt tonight. I don't think he's really
saw
together on this track.
His tyre wear problems. Now he's trying to get at least a position against Kubinski. Sereo might benefit from it. He's now in the slipstream of the Peugeot.
Kubinski's lost 2 positions there. But you might gain 1 back on Thoreau coming into Graham Hill. It's close. They've both left each other enough room though. Still side by side
racing. That's what we want to see here.
Ashby is also about to get involved. This is a very
also Van Hart is back in the game, so even P8 I think can get the podium here.
Definitely going to be close, but I think Sutters, I mean, he's going to be sighing a sigh of relief here. He's managing to make a little bit of a gap to these lot. I think that's really all he needs to do. P2 is really the best he can get at this point.
So, mid down in the grid, Langstadler, P9. Probably one of the guys who complained a lot about Brands Hatch Indy. He doesn't really look comfortable here. Same for Clark. P10 at the moment. And Lucas Mace.
Interestingly, the person who complained the most about Brands Hatch Indy that I spoke to is actually Kubinski and Thoreau. And they're currently running quite nicely in 5 and 6. So
I mean, in the Discord, I also heard Davison complaining a lot, and he's about to take double victory here.
And the guy who loves the track the most is about to take double P2, which I'm sure he certainly would have wanted more. But I mean, P2's P2. And against Tyler Davidson, it's essentially a win.
Looks a bit like Ashby is losing a bit the contact of the fighting group. Also, as Van der Speck is not involved into fighting anymore, it seems that he can get rid a bit of Joe at the moment.
Kubinski had a really slow final corner there. He's just lost position to Thoreau. He's also might lose one to Van Hart. Van Hart will have a run coming up to Druids, surely. He does.
Ashby very wide in the gravel here. And now Van Hart against Kubinski. P6 for him. Would bring him another great result.
If he can just make one more position, that's his 4th consecutive top 5. So well, very good from him.
Let me say, I hope he's fine with P6. Tyler Davison 3 laps to go, 8.5 seconds to gap. No clue what he did in the pits, but it gave him a massive advantage.
We might be able to see an all-Halex second row, as Joe's struggling quite a bit on those tyres. Ruben's putting him on all kinds of pressure here.
And also Will was really pushy on the tyres. He was a bit earlier in the pits than race 1. And you see it on his tyres.
I think Van der Speck's having similar issues though, so I don't think he's going to have to worry.
I mean, at least if there's some rubber left, you have some okay grip, but I think it is possible that Will Sutter's tyre might drop down to full red on the last lap, but he's still gaining on Van der Speck.
He should be fine. But having a dead front right is not something you want around a track which, I mean, there's 2 left-handers on the whole circuit. You know, let's not be stupid here. You need that front left. Witt's still fending off the Rayo there. Brought Van Hart back in.
As Kubinski dropped a bit. So this former 7-car fight.
think Van Hart might actually be an outside chance for top 4 here, looking at his tyres compared to the ones around him.
If he finds the gap, can definitely make it. Sereo, well, if there's one thing that definitely will not happen, that he is able to attack one of the Peugeots on the straight.
In fact, both the Peugeots look like they're looking at the inside of Thoreau. Thoreau seems like he's gone slightly wide there. And that's Van Hart just through it.
Now gaining P5.
Thoreau's just forced to
no chance to counter. I think
we see
out of this group, Stein...
last race?
Maybe. I think Stein is currently of this three-way fight the quickest one. And I think Sereo's best strategy is just waiting for the gap that maybe Stein is opening.
He's trying it around the outsides. Very gutsy. I mean, we've seen him do it before. It's going to be close, run down to the line.
Davison again, Sutters P2. Here. Comeback podium for Vandersberg. Joe protects his P4. Van Hart, Sereo on P6. Kubinski P7. Clark P8. Ashby dropped down to P9. Langstadler. I think he will look forward for the next race because his season was very good so far. P10. Quickly make screenshots because last time the lobby was closed so quick that I just could take one.
Wow, who's your driver of the evening after that?
Well, it's difficult to say. Yes, it was a swift track, but you still have to do it. But I would say Stein. I mean, everything else is boring.
I'd be inclined to agree with you.
He did a really good job. He was involved into nearly every battle. Was clean racing. I think every fight we saw from him was really respectful and really
his
entertaining.
Management was also a lot better than everyone around him. I think the only one really, I think it's fair to say, if Van der Speck had a better first race, I think he's really the only one.
Definitely.
I'd argue.
But I mean, and in the Peugeot, I mean, you know that Joe is a quick driver, but we saw Langstadler struggling in the Peugeot, and Stein did a really good job. Was on the pace of the championship leader in the end in equal machinery, and that is definitely something that should be rewarded, I think.
Yeah, I mean, not to diminish his performances, but he was definitely punching up today, and I feel like he did a very good job.
Yeah, and maybe the cleanest races I've ever seen on Brands Hatch Indy.
Well, definitely one of them, yeah.
I mean, we had a few unavoidable contacts, but nothing like the carnage we had. I mean, I remember when we were last time with Hamza, Sereo, and I think another car was involved into up to Druids with a big crash. Then
Let alone the lapped cars.
Witchell getting punted off by one of the Johto Racing Hyundais in the lead. Hamza getting completely distracted.
This season we haven't really had many cars massively over the pace that have caused issues for lapped cars, and I feel like it hasn't been a massive issue, but it's nice to not have that issue.
Yes, I mean we are talking about. I mean it's Brands Hatch. It is, I think, the shortest track in the calendar. So I think that we had with Dougie a lapped car in the first race, but I think the grid is much closer. You see the drivers are really on focus. They are low on mistakes. And I think we only had the issues with lap cars with the Johto cars. because usually they were usually okay in the qualifying. They were okay on pace until something happened and they completely lost the focus and never got it back.
And they took blue flags as a recommendation, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, last time we saw Ridwan Hamza in the gravel punted off by a car that he was stuck behind for 3 laps and should have been lapped for a while. So, I mean, he still won because he was just dominant there. But yeah, still.
I mean, this is Ridwan we're talking about, though.
It is good to see that we have that close racing, and I mean, yeah, if the Swift wouldn't have been that good on tires tonight, I mean, it's not the car, it's also the skill of Tyler Davison, to be fair. But if Tyler had to change tires tonight, I think we would have seen a different winner in race 2.
100%. But I mean, the Swift's got to be quick somewhere, and I feel like this is one of those tracks where the Swift has one of those big advantages.
Definitely. I mean, we had Monza last week where...
if he did show up, it would have been hell for him.
Yeah, definitely. Then the Swift is a midfield car on top speed tracks. So, yeah. Let's see what the next stage is. I'm pretty happy that my microphone is stopping cutting out. Now I jinxed it. But we are quite at the end of the stream, so it's fine.
And only 4 people are watching, so only 4 people will know.
Oh, Catalunya National, the next tire murderer.
That's always an interesting one. Turn 1 usually produces some interesting incidents at that track, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think the last time we were there, it was Logan, I remember. And I think it was the only ever incident that Ruben Serrao had with maybe not knowing that it's Catalunya National and just going full beans to the first corner. Probably one of the biggest dive bombs I've ever seen. Yeah, and then interesting, after Catalunya we have 3 possible wet races. We hadn't had a wet option so far this season. I still think it's absolutely dumb from Gran Turismo to not put in a rain option for Brands Hatch, because it's fucking UK. It rains there every day.
Well, yeah, saying that, it's been raining today, so you're bang on.
And then with Red Bull Ring, Suzuka, and Autopolis Short, we have 3 wet options in the last 3 races.
I do hope it rains.
I mean, the weather will be random, but I think if Red Bull Ring and Suzuka doesn't bring any rain, I'm pretty sure we're gonna have some weather manipulation for Autopolis Short. Because then it would be boring to have no rain here. I mean, we had the Manufacturers Cup this week or last. It was last week.
The one at Suzuka.
Yeah, at Suzuka, and there you saw that if Gran Turismo is using this stuff with the dynamic weather right, it is absolutely banging. I mean, we had 2 drivers in there, but we also saw there's a Super GT video who picked up damage twice and was beaten by both of our guys.
Quick little flex.
Nah, Iggy just did a great job. I mean, he was in the Viper, and his strategy was spot on. And he was lucky that the quicker guys lost the rear. But it was like, I think 3 or 4 laps, it was just Spoon who was a little bit over the intermediate grip line. And then it started to get full wet and drying out later. It was really interesting. It was super realistic, as the rain really came from one direction and got more and more over the track lap by lap, and not just, okay, monsoon and no monsoon.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't like about rain in this game. You know, you get monsoon, you stay out on the softs because you know it's just going to go in about a minute.
Yeah, I mean, we had really stupid weather situations in the past. I mean, in the Alphas, we had the horror stripe of rain at the Nordschleife, where Ruben stayed out on the softs because it was a thin line of dark blue, purple, yellow, and then it was gone. So the track was really wet for about a millisecond, and it dried so quick and so unrealistic. Yeah, even in the past when we had Red Bull Ring, I think it was season 7 or 8. Yeah, we're not talking about you.
Yeah, we don't talk about that one.
But this is one of the annoying parts because in a realistic way, we are racing 20 minutes. It was full wet on this track. I mean, the race was kind of boring as there were only 4 cars on the right tires, and one of them backed out because a driver kept complaining and spammed restart in the chat, and Ruben thought it would have something to mean and backed out. But yeah, I think it was just Aaron, Pekka, and you who were on wet tires, and the rest was just on soft tires. So they never had a chance in the end. But yeah, it dried so quick when the rain stopped, and I think after the rain, 3-4 laps on Red Bull Ringwood isn't that long, and we are not talking about a 60 car grid. It's 12 cars, 13 cars, something like that. They are not drying the racing line that quick. So I think if you have a 20-minute race, it should be wet all the time. At least if the track was fully soaked, as it was at the start. But it maybe has something to do with the time multiplier. But I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert. I didn't even know what time multiplier we used.
I'd guess 1 times, but you never know. Depends who was hosting the lobby. It was probably Will.
Yes, good old times when it wasn't lagging. I think it's a PS5, honestly. But it is really weird because when I raced him, he was never laggy. He raced with us in a DES event. He wasn't laggy. No problems, no issues. And since the PS5 something, but we have a lot of other leagues where PS5 host is working really good. I mean, if we get at least stable lobbies like in Gran Turismo Sport, where we have a stupid, never fixed starting glitch, then we would be fine.
And the pit glitch.
Oh yeah, the pit glitch. The pit glitch is great as well.
Yeah, I think people talk about all the time how much they miss GT Sport lobbies. I went back and played it the other day. I got pit glitch about 4 times in a row. I do not miss that.
Yes, I mean it was horribly annoying, and it was a shame that it was never fixed. I think it was there since day 1. But yeah, some things will never be fixed. So maybe we will never get stable lobbies in Gran Turismo 7. Or we will never get the latest edition of GT3 cars. Or something cool like TCRs.
Yeah, but we've got ambulances. Ambulances and police cars.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Waiting for the next fire truck or something. No, I think there was a leak. I think we're actually getting a race car. Yeah, we're getting a Group 4.
The Mazda.
Yeah, the Mazda.
Could not care less about it, I'll be brutally honest.
I will quickly check
this. In this league.
Pretty sure we will. But I honestly want to see if this car is kind of existing.
The one car I'm waiting for is then to add the old NSX Group 2 to go with the 90s GTR. And
yeah, that would be also great. But we
I mean,
will always
miss
miss one of the cool
cars. Add a hearse first. They're
Yes.
going to add something like a hearse before they add that.
Yeah, I mean, there would be so many cool options if you don't want to spend money for the newest licenses. Okay, you're fucking Gran Turismo. You're one of the biggest player in the racing games. Why not spending a bit money on licenses? But I mean, you would still have like in the Group 2 class here, we have the CLK Mercedes. Why not having the Porsche from this Le Mans season? Why not having cars like the Panos, like the Celine, like Maserati MC12? These were all great cars, and you could have great racing with it without needing actual licenses.
What I don't get is they have the license to Lotus, they have the license to Pikes Peak, and I think they have the license to IndyCar. Why do they not use these licenses? These are all things we want.
Well, IndyCar would not be my favorite call to say we need it, but
Yeah, we've already got Super Formula.
yes. I mean, it would be cooler than having an ambulance or a hearse or other stupid roleplay stuff. But finally, I think I found at least that the Mazda 3 is at least built as a TCR car. Pretty sure it's never used, but at least it's not a completely Gran Turismo fictional car stuff.
I just want to point out this has turned into the GTRC talk show. We've actually got more people watching than we did during some parts of the race.
Yeah, because they are not racing anymore.
Should do a podcast. Get some of the drivers in.
Yeah, but let me quickly look on the standings, as Sattas had a quite good race. I mean, the gap is 45 points, so he will gain a bit. Davison should jump Kubinski and Langstadler, pretty sure. Maybe Clark with the poor second race, so he... Yeah, Davison will be on 147 points. There's 3 races to go. Maybe he will get involved into some title fight.
Would be very interesting to see. But I mean, he's missed 2 rounds, so it's an outside chance, but it could happen.
I mean, we had in the past champions who missed a few rounds. I think Tyler missed a round last season as well. Aaron
Definitely missed a round.
Yeah, he didn't do the final round. But yeah, I think the general attendance is this season the best we ever had, to be honest. So then it will be quite difficult to win a championship if you missed a round. But yeah, I think with Autopolis short, this could be a swift track. Suzuka definitely is. And at Red Bull Ring, you don't need that much top-end speed, but I think also Red Bull Ring could be a track that might fit the Peugeots a bit more.
I'm going to cut in, actually. I think Suzuka is probably more a Peugeot track from testing that I did with some of the guys earlier on before the season.
How can this car be quick on fucking everything? Suzuka is the most snaky track in this calendar.
I think it's mostly through everywhere out after Spoon up until the final corner. It gains a massive, massive advantage.
Yeah, and then this car should just lose in the S's.
In theory, hopefully.
Yeah, let's see. It will be definitely interesting. I mean, we saw Joe struggling tonight a bit with the Peugeot. Most of the points he earned was in the Scirocco. And maybe last week, don't want to jinx anything. Would be pretty happy. I think we never had... No one won 2 championships so far on GT7.
Yeah, I think you're right in saying that, actually.
We had Pekka, Aaron, Jason, Tyler.
And then this time, likely Joe or Will.
Yes. If Davison is not doing more crazy things.
Have we ever had two champions in general? Well, I think Jason Grant's one's the name, and the other one is Josh Hunter. I don't know if you want to look past. Was it 5 he won?
I think Josh won 5 championships,
Jeez.
and I think Jason did one in
he
GTS.
Won season 1. Yeah.
I mean, Josh, definitely a quick guy, but he benefited from Will not going for the title. I think Will had more than enough chances.
It'd be a different story if he was on this grid. But Josh, if you're hearing this, prove me wrong. Come back and prove me wrong.
I mean, he did his races on Gran Turismo 7. He did his comebacks, but yeah, I think if you're a bit out and not racing that regular, it is difficult. Also, the grid level improved so much. I mean, I started in season 4 and I could do some, looking at the podium stuff on a very few races, and now I'm just getting eaten alive around there. I mean, I felt the Group 4 is a bit more on GT Sport than on GT7, but still, even if a car that I would like to drive, I'm pretty sure that there's no scenario that Tyler Davison or Will or the other guys would eat me alive, even if I'm starting first and they are starting last.
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, I started season 1, and back then I was fighting for wins against the likes of Sutters, Gran, and Stormfly, which is a really big call for the past. But not a chance, nowhere near wins if I was racing on this grid, I'll be brutally honest.
Yeah, it's a good thing that it improved. I mean, the fights could be a bit closer, but yeah, we have to take it how it is. I think in the end, whoever wins it, it is deserved. And of course, if the gap is big, then you are definitely the deserved winner of the championship. But yeah, we definitely have to see how Joe is recovering from this. I think his worst result of the season, maybe.
Perhaps one of his worst results in the league altogether, because you always see him in that top 3 since he joined last season.
Yes. So let's see. I think we don't need to have a look at Tom Coronel Trophy, because Tyler Davison had a 50-point gap, scored another 50 points. Van Hart will jump Lipscomb in it. Same for Lucas Mays. Yeah, Witchell is not competing for the championship there. He's too low on races. And Joker.
We were actually we were joking with Joker the other day, funnily enough, now you mention him, saying that he should show up again because Witchell's overtaken him.
It is... I'm pretty sure that's why he picked the BMW, is because some other league had a one-make BMW M4 season, and I'm pretty sure he was in there. I know that E-Team Hard was in there because we were asked for it, and yeah, then it's maybe the GR4 car that you're the most comfortable with. But then compared to other cars, you're realizing that it's not even quick.
I mean, you say that, but he also did a one-make in the Suzuki Swift, so you could have dodged a bullet and picked the Suzuki Swift.
Yes, definitely. But I know, I mean, I have Pekka in my team. He had to drive the Swift because Ruben picked it in one season. And he was competing for so many podiums. He had so many podiums in the season. He took wins with the Swift and complained every single race about it.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I remember getting plenty of podiums when I used that car, and I hated every second of it.
The only thing I remember what was horrible for me at the Swift was the tiniest contact with another car just sended you into the barrier like nothing else. But oh yeah, all the guys are joining the chat now. I wanted to hop on Fortnite. Oh,
We can end it here now. We got 10 people watching now.
Highest viewer count ever? No, I think highest viewer count ever was in the 3-hour race for Atlanta.
Oh, that was a good race.
It was absolutely great. It was a bit of the shame that that the Nissan GTR was a bit too quick for the rest of the grid with the BOP, and then it's also really unfortunate to have two outstanding drivers with Wichel and Hamza on these OP cars. But overall, it was great racing.
I mean, I'll let you in on a secret. I said to Will he should have the GTR because that's the only way he's going to get Bluefin to stay for another race.
Yeah, this the GTR. It is a great car, but it was not fitting the BOP in this point. Maybe now it would fit. But yeah, combination of GTR and Road Atlanta was just insane good. But it was great to watch.
I think they nerfed it literally the week after. Something stupid like that. Don't remember it being that good for much longer after that race.
Yes, I think so. I think that was quite. I think they nerfed it because it was still better than the 218 GTR, who was released a bit earlier. And then they thought, no, Nissan don't like that.
Now they're pretty equal, though, I think it says so.
Yeah, it's literally the same car. So that, really honest, let's do here to end the stream. Oh, tickets popping up. Only one so far. No, one prediction. What will be the next GT3 car or GTE car we're gonna get to this game?
Probably some... You know that Toyota that they're testing in Super GT that we know nothing about?
That would be exactly my call.
It's going to be that. It's going to be that. It's going to be some random car.
Yes. First of all, my call would always be Japanese car. And then I would go through the manufacturers that only have one GT3 car. So we have Subaru with 2, we have Toyota with 2 already, we have Mazda with 2. So maybe this stupid Mitsubishi VGT we could make as a GR3.
Or a Suzuki Swift GR3.
No, we already have this this dumb convertible. I mean, Lexus has technically just one GR3, but they are two in the select.
They're a proxy of Toyota as well. They don't really count.
Yeah. So I will show you a pretty car. I say Mitsubishi will get a new VGT just for stupid reasons. No, I don't think so, but it would be probably the. I mean, it actually would.
Wedge thing. Do you know how they designed that car?
No.
Apparently, they designed that car because there's a type of bread in Japan which they use for crafting models, and what this guy did was he got this bread and he hacked away at it enough until it looked like a car, and he said, yeah, that'll do.
I mean, it is not pretty at all. It is a stupid VGT. And the most annoying thing is that Mitsubishi is not building rear-wheel driven cars. Not at all. But, Mitsubishi needs a GR3. It must be rear-wheel driven. So the Lancer is rear-wheel driven. Same for the Subaru. They just built four-wheel drives.
Are they building any cars anymore? I think Mitsubishi's shutting down soon, isn't it?
Maybe. I'm not that deep into the Mitsubishi game.
I mean, let's face it, they haven't made anything interesting in so many years.
Since the, I think, Lancer Evo 10 was the last interesting car I saw from Mitsubishi. Well, is Honda maybe getting a new GR4 car?
Honda Civic Group 4. Bloody hell.
It would be great. We want this car. We want the fucking Civic GR4. Give us TCRs. No, but more likely we're getting maybe a fucking cappuccino S660 GR3 with stupid wing and...
Daihatsu. Yeah, Daihatsu needs a Group 3. Where
Yeah,
is the Daihatsu Cope in Group 3?
Please, there is this Daihatsu fucking race car already in it.
Put you back a small sum of £1 million, I'm pretty sure, as well.
It's looking like an SUV. I'm pretty sure this wing is big enough that this car is not even moving because of the downforce. This car is literally just stopping moving when it's over 120 kilometers per hour.
But the wing seems pretty pointless. That's a complaint I have with the Peugeot as well. If you look at the Peugeot Group 4, that wing does absolute fuck all. Like, there's no way that wing helps whatsoever.
Maybe a bit. But yeah, maybe just the little spoiler on the end of the roof would help. Yeah, Clark said I think it was the Mitsubishi. Looks like a shoe. Or did they have to? I don't know. So, before it gets more stupid and more complaining about Gran Turismo and we get cancelled from Polyphony, let's end this here and start it next week. On Catalunya, home race for Ruben Serrao. And maybe the national layout could be a good fit for the BMW. So, let's have a good night. See you in the reports. See you in the Discord. And see you next week. Thanks for being here.